Hey, let's begin with the writing assignment. I know this is definitely what you want to do, so you got it. Now we have King Lear, who's our tragic hero or protagonist. Now I'm assuming that you watched the introduction video, so we're going to jump right on it. You're going to need a paper and some type of writing implement. Don't use a crayon. Now, the topic of our paragraph is going to be William Shakespeare develops the character of King Lear as a tragic hero. First thing we're going to do is use the interpretive sentence chart to create our thesis statement. So stop the video, gather up your materials, and when you have it, click start or play again. Okay, I'm assuming you now have paper and a writing implement. Now above you can see our interpretive sentence chart. It has our context, William Shakespeare, the play, it's not a novel, and King Lear is the title. The literary device is characterization of King Lear. The verb is develops, and the interpretation is the tragic hero protagonist. What I'd like you to do is to copy down the interpretive sentence chart above, pause the video, and write your sentence. Now, I guess you're back. Okay, so let's take a look, and remember we start off from the left and we move to the right, and we have everything we need to make our sentence like this. In his play, King Lear, William Shakespeare develops the character King Lear as a tragic hero. It's important that it addresses the topic, so we use the words in the question in our interpretive sentence chart, and we can ensure that the focus of our essay will answer the question. And welcome, here we go again. Tragic hero definition. If you don't have the definition of the tragic hero that I had given you earlier, written down and in front of you, go get it now. If you didn't write it down, then either review the video that I had put for the introduction or go to literarydevices.net, go to the top and click T, go down to tragic hero and write down the definition. Do that right now. Okay, now I'm assuming that you have the definition written in front of you. What I want you to do on a piece of paper is in bullet format is to read that definition and to make the points of all the different ideas that are in that definition. Do that right now. Okay, and you're back again. So I read through the definition and I took all those different ideas that are within it, and I'm going to use these to create the sentences for my paragraph. So here we go. First, the person who faces adversity. Okay, King Lear, he faces adversity. He faces his downfall, which in the end he dies. Downfall. His downfall is due to his own mistakes. It evokes a sense of pity and fear in the audience. And he's considered a man of misfortune that comes to him through error of judgment. Now, this last idea is kind of repeating some of the ideas that are earlier, but I put that in there from the definition because I think I can use that as my concluding sentence in my paragraph. All right, now that I have all my ideas from the definition itself in a bullet format, what I'm going to do is create sentences for each one of those. The first one is the person who faces adversity. I'm going to use my who, what, where, when, why, and how technique. I'll first answer the questions, and then I'll take those answers and put them together to make a sentence. So who is it that we're talking about? King Lear. What is King Lear? He's confronted with adversity. Where? I don't need to answer that one. Remember, we don't have to answer all the questions, just enough to give us some ideas to make a sentence. When? Dealing with his daughters. Why? His inability to see the truth. And how? I'm going to leave that one blank also. Now I have enough information from the answers to my questions to go ahead and formulate a sentence. Here it is. Lear is confronted with adversity when dealing with his daughters due to his inability to see the truth. Now this is going to be the sentence that comes after my thesis sentence. However, it's not good enough. It needs a transitional phrase, and that's what we're going to be working on with this particular paragraph. All right, now let's talk about transitional phrases. Transitional phrases, as you'll find on the document on Schoology called Linking Words, it's a PDF. And when you open it up, you'll see that all the transitional phrases are organized by categories. We see time, chronology, sequence, space, location, place, and you can read the rest of the examples. Now, what we want to do as we're working with this is we have to think. What is the function of the sentence that I just wrote? What is it doing? Is it providing agreement, addition, and similarity? If it is, then I go to that particular section and I look for a transitional phrase that works. Is it providing opposition, limitation, or contradiction? Again, you go to the particular section, you'll find a word that sounds good in the sentence, and you plug it in. It's as easy as that. Now, there's a lot of different transitional phrases and different sections, and we don't need to memorize them all. But throughout the practice that we're going to be doing, we'll see the ones that are the most common. All right. So what you want to do is to take your sentences that you're creating from the ideas of the definition after you write them, analyze what is it this sentence is doing. What is this job? What is its relation to the thesis sentence? What is the relationship to the previous sentence or the subsequent sentence? And that'll give you an idea where to look. What I'd like you to do right now is to generate all the rest of the sentences with the who, what, where, when, why, and how from the definition, the bullet points that we created, and then go ahead and do that, and then continue with the video. All right, now I'm assuming you've used the technique, you've created all the sentences from the ideas that are in the definition. The next step after we use our who, what, where, when, why, and how technique to create the sentences, identify the purpose of each sentence. What is it actually doing in my paragraph? Then I'm going to take that idea, concept, and I'm going to look at my linking words PDF and locate the transition that correlates with the purpose of each sentence. Let's take a look at my paragraph and see what we have. Lear is confronted with adversity when dealing with his daughters due to his inability to see the truth. He faces his downfall due to his own mistake. The consequences of Lear's action invokes a sense of pity, or fear and pity in the audience. Shakespeare's characterization of King Lear as a tragic hero creates a man of misfortune that comes to his end through error of judgment. Now that's not bad, but it's going to be better if I had the appropriate transitions. So I want to go back first and review what my thesis statement was. In his play King Lear, William Shakespeare develops the character of King Lear as a tragic hero. All right, so I'm talking about Shakespeare, characterization, tragic hero, King Lear. And that was created from the definition. So now, what is the function of the first sentence? It's all the ideas that are in the definition. So I think about it, I say, well, the first sentence first, obviously, and I look at my chart on my PDF and I see chronology and sequence. Well, if it's the first one, it's the chronology and sequence. So I look at that and I went through the list and I chose this, to begin. So now my sentence sounds a little bit better. To begin, Lear is confronted with adversity when dealing with his daughter due to his inability to see the truth. Now this transition, the purpose, is to let my reader know what it is my sentences are doing. Let's look at the next one. He faces his downfall due to his own mistake. Well, I went there and I looked and I thought about it. Well, he's blind and it leads to his downfall, hamartia and nemesis. So he does something that leads to another one. So I go to my list, I look up and I see cause and result. And I went through the list and I read the words, put them in my sentence, see if it sounded good, and this is what I came up with. Consequently, this means this is what happened because of what went before. Consequently, he faces his downfall due to his own mistake. Okay, that sounds pretty good. The next one, the consequences of Lear's action invokes a sense of fear and pity in the audience. So I thought about it, so I began with my first sentence. Then we have a consequence. Now, what does it do? So these consequences, and I look through my charts and I see that it's the consequences of hamartia and nemesis. So I look at my chart again and I went through all the different words, plugged them into my sentence, read it out loud and said, hey, this one sounds pretty good. And I said, as a result. So due to what happened before, this is the result. So you can see that each one of my transitional phrases indicates to my reader what's coming next. That's the purpose. As a result, the consequences of Lear's actions invoke a sense of fear and pity in the audience. Now we're coming up to the end. This is my conclusion. So I looked in there and I saw the conclusion of transitional phrases. And I saw that I say, as can be seen in the final analysis, as shown above, given these points, in summary, in conclusion, to summarize. They all sounded pretty good. But I continued looking around, and what I came up with, because I just read it and it sounded good to me, and that's what what you need to do, and I came up with this. For these reasons. For these reasons, Shakespeare's characterization of King Lear as a tragic hero creates a man of misfortune that comes to his end through error of judgment. So now my paragraph sounds a lot better. This is what I want you to do. Take your sentences. Identify the purpose and function of each one of your sentences. Look into the transitional phrase chart, identify the corresponding category, choose a transition, and add it to your sentences. Stop the video now, do that, and then start it back up. See you in a bit. And welcome back. So I'm assuming that you've completed your paragraph, you added your transitional phrases, and as you can see, I did mine also, and I highlighted them red. If you don't have a highlighter or a different pen, just underline them. In his play, King Lear, William Shakespeare develops the character King Lear as a tragic hero. To begin, Lear is confronted with adversity when dealing with his daughters due to his inability to see the truth. Consequently, he faces his downfall due to his own mistake. As a result, the character of Lear invokes a sense of fear and pity in the audience. For these reasons, Shakespeare's characterization of King Lear as a tragic hero creates a man of misfortune that comes to his end through error of judgment. That sounds a lot better by adding the transitional phrases. Now, through a little bit of practice, what you're going to find is, especially for the AP test, just pick a few of each one. Put them in your tool belt so that when it comes time to write your AP test, you're going to have them right there. Okay, now I've placed a video on Schoology that details on how to upload an assignment if you don't know how to do it. So if you don't know how to do it, look at the video. This assignment, this paragraph, is due prior to April 5th. I'll view your work as it's submitted and provide feedback. I just want the completed paragraph and make sure you underline your transitional phrases or highlight them as you see fit. The planning is not necessary. What I want you to do also is to begin to organize your notes as we're going over this so that they're all available and you can study from them. I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye.